Hey everyone, welcome back to When Creatives Thrive, a BOPA podcast. I'm Stuart Rustin, the multimedia manager at BOPA, and this episode we're joined by Reginald Lewis, a visual artist born in Baltimore, Maryland, who's known professionally as Insanely Dope Designs. Despite challenges, including a recent car accident, Reggie is guided by the mantra, dedicated on purpose every day, i.e. dope. Over the past year, Reggie's been busy creating art that inspires and leaves a lasting impact, starting last summer with the Art at Work program. He co-led a team of youth who worked together to transform a wall in Sandtown-Winchester. The process started with listening to neighbors for their input and culminated in a mural that depicts the surrounding location and honors its history. Then, during Artscape, Reggie was on site for a live art activation, and he was also one of over 30 artists that were selected to design and paint murals on the pillars holding up the JFX through Project Urban Oasis. This initiative, introduced by the Mayor's Office of Arts, Culture, and Entertainment, beautifies the space and makes the new Artscape footprint a sustainable location. We also discuss Reggie's newest work, A Taste of Legacy, which appeared on memorabilia during CIAA and is now on view at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. I'm here in the studio with Reginald Lewis from Insanely Dope Designs. Reggie,
yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Hey, so we're recording in July. It's a couple weeks out from Artscape 2025, and I'd love to hear about your experience, sort of, what you felt like being on the footprint. I know you were doing some live painting there, so just curious if you could kind of tell us how that all went down. And you were also featured in the Project Urban Oasis, so you had a mural there. You had a lot going on.
Absolutely, a lot going on. Artscape for me was really just a festival, a celebration of culture, art, something that I went to with my mother as a kid. And as I developed into an artist in terms of my career path, it was always on my agenda to participate, celebrate, be a part of, and just create history alongside Artscape. So this year was really a dream come true. Painting live actually came secondary to the mural project. So this was like icing on the cake. Just, overall, I was really excited. I was able to share the moment with my family. I was able to display my talent in front of thousands of individuals who attended Artscape, as well as how widespread it was on social media. So for me, this was just a dream come true, a really big opportunity for myself.
I actually saw the video of you online with the buyer, and the piece was called, I believe, Cosmic Vision. It's this kind of young man in aviator goggles. Yeah, what was going on? What made you decide to paint something like that? And is there some sort of interest in aviation in general? It seems like a lot of the stuff you got going on recently has got planes, people who look like they're about to sort of take off on a journey of some kind.
Absolutely. I like that you mentioned that, taking off on a journey, because ultimately that's one of the biggest messages that I have in those pieces. And I feel like for myself, where I'm at in life, I turned 30 June 3rd. Yeah, I crossed over.
Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm still celebrating all summer. But honestly, just it feels like a transformative moment in my life, but also in my career as an artist, as far as skill set, business, reach, impact. Everything that I'm doing really increased in terms of volume. Everything just really exploded, and it's really like a fresh start in a new phase. And this is really an exploration phase for myself as I venture out of Baltimore to connect to different cities, different museums, different art festivals. When you take off, you don't know where you're going, but ultimately the journey is what teaches us and creates who we are in the end. So that's a message that I really try to convey in those pieces. And Cosmic Vision, the piece that I painted live at Artscape, was really just a fun piece that I created actually the night before the festival. So I painted that, I would say, within about 6 or 8 hours in total, which was pretty fun. I did a nice blue fade on the background, which is definitely like a signature for myself, and just a representation of innovation, what it's like to dream, which is why I include paper planes, just thinking about, being a student. I'm actually an educator as well, which a lot of people don't actually know. But I have a strong passion for mentoring the youth and just keeping them motivated and inspired and really just dreaming beyond your reality.
Yeah, and I definitely want to come back to and touch upon your work with young people and youth in general. But I was curious if you could maybe even go into more detail about a time where you said, you know what, this is my thing. I've got to go this creative artistic route.
Definitely. That there were different turning points in terms of projects, opportunities. But for myself, I think more so personal experience, more so than successes or victories within a career. Before the podcast started, I know we talked about a pretty bad accident that I had in January, which was a car accident that happened at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. A lot of ice on the ground, a lot of snow. The car flipped over, turned several times, and ultimately it stopped, and I was able to remove myself from the car with just scratches, thankfully.
It's incredible.
Pretty incredible, yeah. The first responders were pretty shocked themselves. I know one of the first questions that they asked me were, did you have on a seatbelt and did you get yourself out or did somebody else pull you out? But, I'm definitely a firm believer in a higher being. I was raised in church, so I definitely think that, it was just a spiritual moment for myself and to kind of speak to the incident itself. It could have been one of those situations where, of course, me not being here was a possibility, but even surviving such an accident, it could have really took a mental toll just on me overall.
That's what I thought when I saw those pictures.
Definitely.
I mean, that car was in rough shape.
Pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad. Happy to be here. Super excited to tell the story and not, somebody else telling my story about what happened.
I know, which could have happened.
Definitely. The car was actually upside down when I removed myself from the car, which was pretty crazy. I felt like it was almost like the beginning of a mission on a Call of Duty.
Oh my God, yeah.
War, it was cold. I mean, the noise, the glass, the smells, it was pretty crazy. But I think, I actually know, in life we go through things.
Yeah.
So this wasn't my first traumatic experience.
Sure.
And I think being 30, going through things as a man, growing up as a black man in Baltimore City, when you're faced with different things, different obstacles, situations, these things kind of happen. And you're kind of already trained through experience of how to respond. Unfortunately, some people succumb to these situations through many things, addiction, like we said, just having these situations take over mentally, not being able to move forward from things like this. But I've always been kind of able to bounce back from different situations that I've gone through in life and use that as motivation.
Yeah, and I'm curious how that ends up shifting your perspective or the lens that you end up viewing future work. It sort of seems like you got a gift, right? In being able to just walk away. How do you end up showing that?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I think for me, I was already focused, determined, dedicated in what I'm pursuing. But that was more so a wake-up call, hey, it's time. And since that moment, after I sat down for about 3 or 4 weeks, just to kind of let my body,
of course,
heal up after getting hit with those airbags, my chest was sore for quite some time.
Yeah.
Game. Let's go. It's game time.
Well, that's great. I mean, again, just thinking back to those images, so grateful that you're here, you're in one piece.
Oh, yeah.
And that it seems like you didn't miss a beat, which is kind of incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to bounce back to, though, when you were talking about your role as an educator, your role working with youth, because a lot of the work that's on your website, that's available for purchase right now, a lot of it features younger people. One of the pieces that really, really struck me was called Satellite. It's got this sort of cinematic quality to it. Like you look at it and it just tells this story without you having to think too much about it. It's got planes. Well, I think a singular plane. I could be wrong. Multiple young black men who are almost kind of identical. It's like they're almost like these quadruplets. They all sort of look the same. They're in this kind of like desert environment. Looks like they could be going to war or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious if you could tell us a little bit more about Satellite, where that all came from.
Absolutely. I think, a lot of my work speaks to my experiences. And of course, I show up as myself every day, unapologetically. So I am a black male in America, in a city that has a history that hasn't always favored people that come from the same descent. I think things have changed, and you have to go get whatever you're in pursuit of. But there are challenges that we face systematically. So that comes into play in many different aspects of our lives. But I think it's just a constant battle and an uphill fight to essentially get reparations. If that means on a large scale or a small scale, if that means getting the job that you've worked for and raising your family in a nice neighborhood with great education, great health care, or on a larger scale, taking care of a whole city. And I think Brandon Scott has done a great job at transforming some things for us as black men, as well as just a community altogether. Kind of erasing some of those lines that divided different groups of people and really getting us to understand each other, celebrate each other. But I think, that piece just really represents the fight, but also the vision, right? I have a background in science, which a lot of people don't know. I went to school for biology.
Man of many talents.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be a pharmacist, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty interesting story. But just really thinking about life, how you can change your life, right? I was in a pharmacy working as a technician. I actually interned at Johns Hopkins, Care First, downtown. So I was that college student that was like motivated, driven, ready to go, excited about graduate school, and pretty much everything that I wanted to pursue or get, it was in front of me. I just needed to pretty much do the work, but it just didn't make me happy within. So that was really the transitional point where I said, I'm going to finish my bachelor's degree, but I'm going to start pursuing art relentlessly because I know in the long term what type of lifestyle I like to create for myself. And one thing that I don't like is the possibility of getting old and wishing or wanting to do something that you had an opportunity to do, but you didn't take advantage of it. So for me, that's just one example in my life of how I used what I could see as far as my vision and dreams, but also using the mud, the trenches, and everything that you go through as far as experiences and situations. You gather what you can gather, you put it in your toolbox, and you use that to fight to get to your dreams. So it's a connection between where you are going and where you came from.
Right. Definitely. I see that.
Oh, yeah. Pretty dope piece. And it looks great. It's deep, but it looks
so good.
great.
Yeah, it's so good. I wanted to pull a quote off your website. As I move forward, my mission remains the same, using art to inspire, uplift, and transform. So within this kind of conversation of youth, educating, and giving back, I was wondering if you'd tell us about your experience during last year's Art at Work program. What was the collaboration with Kid Balloon like? Kind of paint the picture for me.
Well, it was a pretty dope opportunity. And I like that you mentioned that, right? Inspire, uplift, transform. I feel like we went through each phase during that project. But Kid Balloon actually reached out to me sometime in last summer, I believe in June. It was a pretty quick process. He gave me a rundown of the project, what was needed. He was actually the lead artist. I was the assistant artist of the project, which is typically the structure of Art at Work, which is a great summer program for kids who actually learn how to design and paint a mural. And I've actually seen this project quite a few times in the recent years, since I've kind of gotten to the art world. And for me, it was like almost a rite of passage as a muralist. There were quite a few artists that I look up to in terms of artistry, business, everything that have already gone through the program, including Reginald Lewis, Ernest Shaw, you name it, the greats, right? And just knowing that I've reached a point where I'm actually a part of the program that I actually looked up to a year or 2 years ago was super crazy.
Yeah, kind of surreal.
Super crazy. So that kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier when you asked me about just moments when I realized that art was pretty much for me.
Yeah, it seems like there have been multiple.
Oh, yeah, quite a few, quite a few. And like I said, I'm a spiritual guy, so I'm always, very insightful, like small things to even like big things, or like walking into the office today and seeing like art on the walls and muralists that I know. It's like, okay, I'm where I need to be.
Right.
But yeah, no, incredible project. Kid Balloon is a super great guy. Definitely happy that he brought me on board. I feel like I could talk all day about that project, but it was super incredible. We had a group of about 9 or 11 students that actually were Baltimore City students, of course, working through YouthWorks. And we painted a mural in Sandtown, which was pretty interesting, on the P. Flanagan and Sons asphalt plant. There's a building on Monroe Street, right across from a few popular murals. The Freddie Gray mural by Nether, which is one of my mentors. He taught me a lot about murals. I remember... and I'm kind of going different places right now, but
No, it's all working.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, I had pretty much gone through a few art shows. I was getting commissions. I was, really doing my thing with canvas paintings, but I wanted to get into murals. So I reached out to 2 artists, which is Gaia and Nether. And I reached out to them on Instagram. And since then, they've brought me on to projects. They given me materials, talked me through things, gave me techniques on spray paint, how to use a paint sprayer. So everything I'm doing now is really a reflection of my hard work and dedication, gifts, but also, like I said, being resourceful. Just understanding who I am around, what industry that I'm in, who are the key playmakers. So yeah, just even bringing, all of those different elements into the Art at Work project was super dope, because we bought a paint sprayer for the first time because we had a very long wall. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but I want to say that it was at least 80 to 100 feet long.
Yeah, it's a big wall.
Pretty big wall. And I'm probably wrong. So the math guys, hopefully they don't beat me up after this podcast. I think the first or second day when we started to use this paint sprayer, we had some issues. So what did I do? I called Nether. So he showed up, helped us out with the paint sprayer. He actually painted the Freddie Gray mural, like I said, across the street.
Right.
So just making that connection with the owner of the car wash to who we were coordinating with kind of created like, just a moment for everybody to kind of realize, hey, we kind of ended up in this weird predicament. You know him, she knows you, but it's like a moment that was meant to be.
Yeah, just kind of like an aha moment where like, hey, we're in this together. Like the community has to rally in a way to get this job done.
Yeah.
And what did the mural look like? It's hard for me to describe it. There's kind of like this playfulness, though. Was that something you all were thinking about, or talk about some of the imagery?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the playfulness, I feel like, really speaks to Kid Balloon and what he represents with his artwork and brand, which is just a celebration of life.
Yeah.
We know that he loves to use the balloons, so he actually created those characters. And from the beginning, we actually went out to source information with the youth group in terms of ideas of different elements, colors, themes that you would see in the mural. And then we came back together and collaborated. I love color. I love abstract. So the background was, I would say, the first step. And I kind of gave it some flavor, and then he kind of added some things, and then we kind of went back and forth like that for a while. But the wording actually spells out Sandtown, which is a neighborhood in West Baltimore. A lot of history. Of course, you know, the uprising, the riots after the death of Freddie Gray actually occurred in this neighborhood as well. Freddie Gray was actually a resident of this neighborhood. And even to highlight different things like Penn North, thinking about the Arts Social Club, what Pennsylvania Avenue did for Black arts in the past in terms of Billie Holiday, Duke Ellington, these incredible musicians, comedians, and entertainers that actually performed on Pennsylvania Avenue. So there's a lot of culture, history in Sandtown. So we wanted to kind of create a celebration of Sandtown and not shed light on the negativity. And we really chose to kind of create Sandtown in a way that spoke to the building that it was on as well, which is the asphalt plant, which is owned by P. Flanagan and Sons, which we're incredibly grateful to work with. And we actually just finished another mural next to the Art at Work project.
No way. I didn't realize that.
Yes. We just finished sometime in May. It was a pretty long project because we started so early in the spring. There were a lot of rain days. But yeah, super grateful for them. So in the Art at Work mural, we wanted to create the Sandtown name out of essentially stones. So that's what we really try to exemplify as far as the style of the words. I even think that there's a balloon character kind of chiseling away at the stones.
Yeah.
Kind of, it almost reminds you of a Smurf kind of episode of Baltimore. Like, you know, they're coming together, they build, there's foliage and tomato and different like vegetable elements in the piece.
It's right across the street from a community garden, right?
Correct. Yep. This Strength to Love Farm is actually directly across the street. So we actually met with them as well and a few other entities in the neighborhood before completing the mural. So we wanted to kind of shed light on the farm as well.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is, and it makes perfect sense with your name, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your partnership with the Reginald Lewis Museum. You had a piece that just went up on the exterior of the museum.
Yes.
And you also had a past collaboration through CIAA.
Yes.
So, yeah, give us a sense of what's going on there.
I mean, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, just a loss for words. I know when I was a kid, my mother actually gave me his book. And I don't think that I read it in detail, but just the significance and what it represented for me kind of came back. And this is going to kind of go a few ways, but the first connection that I made with the Lewis Museum was after the passing of George Floyd. So there was a project that I was a part of. It was called Unity Through Art, where we had about 10 mobile murals that were installed into Patterson Park. So my piece actually was of George Floyd. So I actually painted his portrait on the painting, and I put his face on an older photo, which was actually a gentleman during the civil rights movement. And he held up a sign that said, "I am a man." So I kind of told a story of how it was then versus how it is now, how things are still the same.
Yeah.
Pretty dope project. I was actually introduced to a lot of the muralists that are pretty busy in Baltimore today during that project. So just to see everybody be consistent and actually build their careers was great. Unfortunately, there was a miscommunication between our representatives and the park representatives. And the following day after they were installed, it was raining. Pretty gloomy day. And I remember receiving a text message that the murals were being taken down by park rangers. So a lot of the murals were actually removed, but they were damaged during the removal. But believe it or not, thankfully, my mural was not destroyed. It was next to the last one that was damaged. And that was actually a young lady. I still remember her name, Hillary Raybuck, I think is her name. She actually sat in front of my mural in the rain with her dog. She was actually a member of the community at that time. I'm not sure if she still lives in Patterson Park. But she essentially saved my mural from being damaged. So following that, of course, that took the project to national news. From then it was on. It was game time. So it kind of worked out in a way. It gave us sort of a larger voice, but it also a hand up just in terms of what we were trying to do in the first place.
Yeah, just sort of like an unexpected amplification of what was happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then following that, the Lewis Museum actually created an exhibition around just the movement that was going on at the time. And the exhibition that they created was Make Good Trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually collected signs, different things that could go into the exhibition at the museum. I guess you can kind of see where I'm going, right? So the George Floyd piece, along with 2 other murals, were selected. That was the first connection. And just over the years, I kind of reached out and kind of pretty much proposed different services or different ways that I could add value to the institution. And eventually we just started to collaborate again in terms of like workshops during different events. Most recently, I was actually working on a project, and it was a holiday themed party. But the marketing director actually walked in and saw what we were doing and realized what my name was and kind of, I guess, did some homework.
Right.
And realized that I would be a really great fit. And since then,
Kind of a perfect fit.
yeah, it's been crazy. I was actually in Los Angeles last December, and I got a call. And she's like, "Hey, Reggie, I got some good news." I was like, "Okay, this is good. I know it's good." CIAA in the CFG Bank Arena want to actually collaborate and create a cup label design, and we want you to be the artist. That was it.
That's incredible.
That was it.
So tell me about the piece, though, that ended up on the exterior.
Definitely. So this piece is called A Taste of Legacy. So like I said, it actually started with a cup label, and this design is pretty cool. So when I started painting portraits, I really focused on grayscale, and I didn't really include a lot of color. But with this one, I kind of wanted to stick to what I'm good at, but also push the limits a little bit. And I feel like this is the perfect intersection. So we have a lady which represents really just African Americans. And I was actually raised by a single mother. And I felt like what better time to display a Black woman than now, right? Black women, they've done a lot for me in terms of my life as well as my career. Even thinking about the director of marketing, she's a Black woman at the Lewis Museum. The president who approves these projects is a Black woman. So it was a perfect time to actually, exemplify what these women have done, can do, and will do for the world, essentially, not even just for our culture. And, ultimately, physically, biologically, they give us life.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to include the jewelry, the necklace, the earring, the eyelash, just kind of really giving her some flair, but also still keeping her in grayscale to kind of tell a story of what she's gone through to even support us has been a journey. So it almost reminds you of a statue, of an older photo that your family has that's not in color. The strawberries that you see in the design, as well as the cherries, represent the hibiscus drink. So we really wanted to create artwork that represented the drink. And the drink was a sorrel, which is a red drink, which is pretty common within the Caribbean culture today. But historically, it actually started in Africa. And to kind of speak to the slave trade, the transition from Africa to the United States, I included the broken chains, and just making it colorful and fun, making sure that, ultimately it looks great, but it also tells a story.
Before we started rolling, I asked you if there were any questions that you normally end up getting from artists or from the public when you're out, either an exhibition or just, public gathering or whatever. It sounds like from our conversation that this sort of question of motivation or kind of what keeps you going, able to sort of sustain your practice often comes up. Like, can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think when you have something that you love, you just have to do it. You have to go on rainy days, sunny days, snow days, hail days, sad days, happy days. You got to get it done. You got to find a way. There is a way. And I think ultimately, none of us knew we were coming here, right? So we can't allow things that are going on here affect who we really are and where we're trying to go. So for me, every day is just another opportunity to go get what you want. Working on yourself, don't beat yourself up. Understand your own journey and your own goals, challenges, and history. We all have a different history. So you never want to compare yourself to the next person because you don't know what they've gone through or what they did to get what they have or where they are.
True.
So, ultimately just taking care of yourself, love yourself, brush your teeth, do things that make you feel good.
That one sometimes.
Yeah. Love yourself. That's a really big one. Even speaking back to the cup design and just the Taste of Legacy project, my mother instilled so much love into me. I think that shows today through many different ways, but being confident goes a long way.
Sure does.
But when you love yourself, it just shows.
Some wise words for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now on that note, I'm wondering, where's the best place for people to find you online? What have you got coming up? Tell us everything.
Yes. So you can find me online. Everything is Insanely Dope Designs, from Instagram, TikTok, website, email. Insanely Dope Designs is how you find me. Reginald Lewis. We do have products at the Lewis Museum right now where you can purchase your fan, poster, tote bag. If you like for me to sign a poster, that might be a possibility.
Wow.
So yeah, lots of things going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just as we close this out, I'm thinking about a few messages.
Yeah, what you got?
I think we'll have to do a part 2, man. This wasn't enough. This is an intro.
Well, you're welcome back anytime.
For sure. But just thinking about Insanely Dope, for me, dope is more than just an acronym.
Yeah.
It's a way of life. And being dedicated on purpose every day is just a part of loving yourself. Like I said, another day, another opportunity. And I know you pay attention. So if you kind of go back and look at a lot of my posts and captions, I kind of highlight those two things. So those are my quotes. Another day, another opportunity, and dedicated on purpose every day. So if you search that up, you might be able to find me. Do your Googles.
Well, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And part 2 coming soon.
Part 2 on the way. Part 2 on the way. This was fun. Thanks, bro.
Thanks so much to Reggie for joining the podcast. And thanks to you for listening. Remember, if you're a creative person with a story to share, reach out to me at srustin@promotionandarts.org to be featured on the podcast. And remember, when creatives thrive, we all rise.